I will prove to you thereby that there is no advocacy of force and violence in any one of them. Asterisk. I have also written a dozen pamphlets during the past period covered by the indictment. Asterisk. The government did not list them for your attention. I recommend especially that you do read one of their listed. Documents if and when it is presented the eloquent and able. Opening remarks of Eugene Denis, General Secretary of the Communist Party. When he stood here, as I am standing now, defending himself before another jury. I wrote an introduction to it. It is called The Case for the Communist Party. The government has indicated that it intends offering it in evidence, possibly for this reason. I am glad that the government will make it available to you and would be happy to follow congressional. Example and ask that the speech of Eugene Denis be considered an extension of my remarks. Asterisk. I have handbills, advertisements and press clipping relative to hundreds of public mass meetings. Arranged by the Communist Party at which I and other defendants have spoken in the past 15 years. We will prove that nowhere has there been any advocacy of force and violence. The subject matter of such meetings should interest this jury, I believe, however, as evidence of our intent. Take some at random: the struggle against the Taft-Hartley law, the rights of the Negro people. Asterisk. I and other defendants have spoken during the period covered by the indictment and previously on the radio. especially in political campaigns in support of communist and other candidates. Including Councilman Cacchiona and Davis, and for Simon W. Gerson, a defendant present here, when he was a candidate after Mr. Cacchiona's sudden death. We will prove to you that the Communist Party, U.S.A., is not, as the indictment sets forth, a society. Group or assembly of persons, but is a legitimate political party. It has nominated candidates for all public offices, including that of President. We will prove that defendants here on trial have been candidates and won substantially high votes pari. Gerson, Begun, Johnson, Weinstone and Weinstock. I ran with Mr. Benjamin J. Davis for Congress at large in 1942, and we each received over 50,000 votes. Our campaign slogan or program for victory was "Not an idle man." Not an idle machine. Not an idle acre. Mr. Gerson received 150,000 votes in Brooklyn in 1948. One of the defendants in the current Los Angeles Smith Act trial, a known communist. Miss Bernadette Doyle, received over 600,000 votes for a statewide office as a peace candidate. Our evidence will prove how the Communist Party operates politically. We are a party of a new type in that we are not before the people just to capture their votes. We will prove that we are politically active the year round. We have attended public hearings as communist spokesmen. For instance, I appeared with Mr. Gerson before the Senate Judiciary Committee to oppose the appointment of Tom Clark to the Supreme Court. If our party along with other minority parties were not hampered by ever-increasing electoral restrictions and barred from the ballot in some states, we believe firmly we would win many more votes and elect candidates to Congress. Communists are represented in the parliaments of all major non-fascist countries in the world today. This is the arena where political views belong, in the marketplace of public discussion. To be passed upon solely by the electorate of our country. The government obviously intends to make much of the fact that occasionally we spoke in somebody's home to a selected group of people. In reference to such house gatherings, and some were purely social, we will show that these are some of the reasons. Sometimes it was because no hall could be rented, and in small one-industry towns, like steel, coal and textiles, people seen at a communist meeting by company spies would lose their jobs and be blacklisted. And even the unions would not be able to protect these members. Sometimes we held them in homes for the convenience of women who could not attend otherwise. Sometimes it was for the protection of Negro people, especially in the South and border state areas. That the speaker goes to them rather than expecting them to come to the speaker. We will show that we consider it our duty as communists to protect workers, members, and non-members alike. From harassment, loss of jobs, threats of violence or FBI surveillance, and just because they come to our meetings. Wherever possible, our meetings were open with the public and the press invited. Sometimes, unfortunately, communists are driven to privacy as protection against persecution. Criticism should not be directed to us but at those who create the repressive conditions which we will prove, forces workers to choose between their jobs and their beliefs. We will prove, and I can assure you, that no member of our party but what would be happy and willing to publicly declare his or her membership if the same rights and protection were accorded to us as to all others engaged in political activity in our country. The government will also make much of schools, as Mr. Lane has already indicated, where Marxism-Leninism was taught. I gave lectures at certain schools in New York City, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and at a national training school. My topics were either history of the labor movement or history of the women's movement in the U.S.A. I have the outlines which I used in these courses which are analytical and explanatory. And I will, because they are only brief, I will offer them in evidence in this case. A course on the history of the American labor movement. Delivered at the Jefferson School of New York, is presented here as the overt act of Mr. Louis Weinstock. This brings us to the skeleton upon which this case is built, a strange new type of overt act. Suggestive, if I may say so, of Nazi book burning. They set forth Asterisk. They set forth, we believe, activities which are the ordinary everyday acts of all. Organizations and individuals who seek to present their views in the marketplace of ideas. Of 29 overt acts, 11 are articles in the magazine Political Affairs. Five are daily worker articles. Five, including mine, are public meetings. Two are committee meetings. Two are classes. One is leaving a building. One is mailing letters. One is writing a pamphlet. One is becoming a party organizer. The government will attempt to clothe them, too. I presume, in the so-called Aesopian language, or, no matter what we said, we really meant its opposite. It is quite a Houdini-like performance to say peace to a mass meeting of 10,000 people and mean war. Mr. Perry and I and our co-defendants will try, in the evidence we submit as this case progresses, to cut through the maze of what we consider misrepresentations in relation to Aesopian language. And to make it clear that we say what we mean and we mean what we say. And that the language of Marxism-Leninism is not as mysterious or obscure as the government attempts to make it sound. All sciences, even the law, have their own terminology, but like a doctor's prescription. This does not mean they are dishonest or misleading to the general public. Not a single act of violence is alleged against any one of us. Not are there charges that I know of thus far that any of us collectively or individually advocated the forceful overthrow of the United States government. This science of Marxism-Leninism, which is expounded in the books as evidence, had its origin over a century ago with two great political thinkers, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. In a few words, and there is always a danger of oversimplification of a scientific subject. They declared that what happens to humanity is not a matter of blind fate nor the will of great men, nor must it be accepted as irrevocable. They said mankind can find a scientific explanation for wars, famine, economic depression, and poverty. And that mankind, especially the working class, can help to change society, can alter and direct the course of history. Can abolish these evils and institute a planned social order, based on the well-being of all. Out of their profound analysis of all human history, and especially of its present stage known as capitalism, they developed the system of scientific socialism, which you will hear clarified by our witnesses. Today it has become a tremendous subject, too vast for any one person to fully explain. Nor would the time allowed for a trial permit it. The government, I believe, will try to do the impossible, to compress over a century of the development. Of a great social science into the use of a few books and an infinitesimal part of its application.